All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever state, whatever city, whatever country that you are listening to me from. My name is Shofu Babalola Theophilos, and you're welcome into the Pest Experience Show. Right? The Pest Experience Show cut across different states, across different city, across different country, where we talk about pest control, and pest control itself. Tips, techniques, strategies on how to control pests in residential, commercial, also um, and what's not, right? Also for homeowners, this is where you learn, connect, relearn, unlearn. And even for professionals, as his name sounds, Pest Experience. This is where the professionals come in, guide and wine, and also share from their own wealth of experience. And remember, like I said, it cut across different states, across different cities, across different countries, right? And you're also welcome. If you're just joining in, you're just tuning in, right, from different part of the world. If you're just tuning in on Insight Radio, either on our YouTube right now or you're watching it live as we are live right on YouTube, right? If you're tuning in or you're watching, the video, you're welcome. This is the platform where you learn, unlearn, and relearn. Okay, so today marks the first show on the Pest Experience Show for the year 2026. And as usual on the show, we don't start the show in a new year like this without talking about predicting what we have for the new year, right, in 2026. And right now, right here on the show today, we would be predicting, also sharing wonderful insights on what we need to do to prepare ahead for 2026, what professionals need to unlearn, relearn, and also, develop much more better, either in their skill sets, either in their training capacity, in their knowledge capacity also, and also in terms of even equipment and advancement and technological advancement for their own brand. Right on today's show tonight, West African time, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. West African time, right here in Nigeria. I'm not just alone right in the studio. I'm also joined by an experienced professional who has spent over 10 years in this industry of pest management, right? And I mean, when I say 10 years, 10 years is it's not just a number. Spending 10 years in the industry alone, it's a lot, right? And I'm not just here myself, I'm here with an esteemed professional with years and years of experience, not just himself, also collaborative work with so many other professionals across different states, across different cities, also across different country, through his program, through his own community, the License to Kill community. But first and foremost, let me introduce you to our special guest today, Mr. Marcus Scruggs. He's a pest control professional and the founder of the License to Kill LTK community, a national community that connects technicians, owners, professionals, entomologists, and industry leaders through education, networking, and a shared culture. LTK blends skilled trade professionalism with modern community building. I mean, I'm also part of the community and I see what we do every day. I'm always, joining the community and also just sharing my own day-to-day activities on the field shenanigans on Discord, right? With modern community building, using gaming media. I mean, that's one thing I want to really go into, gaming also, media and real-world experience to create a space where pest control professionals can learn from one another, build relationships across company lines, and elevate perceptions of the industry. With hands-on field experience and a passion for mentorship, Mr. Marcos' passion for mentorship focuses on strengthening career pathways, growing industry pride, and helping shape the next generation of pest control professionals. With so much round of applause, if you are listening right from wherever you are, welcome, Mr. Marcos, right on the Pest Experience Show, all the way from, I think you're in America or in the US. Where exactly are you from? I never asked that.
Man, thank you so much for a warm welcome. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be on this show, Shofu. It's been awesome getting to know you over the last several months, seeing you hanging out in the Discord, messaging you on
Yeah.
WhatsApp, and just sharing the knowledge between bed bugs and some of the things that you're really just a specialist in your own ways. But yes, I'm in the Houston, Texas area, so right there, smack dab,
Amazing.
right there by the Gulf of America. We're an oil and gas city, and so it's a major swampy area. So pest pressures are at the highest. There's only one other area in America where the
Hmm.
pest pressures kind of reach that, which is Miami-Dade County. So, uh, you know, uh, very similar latitude there as far as like closeness to the tropics and some of the types of pests that we get imported in on ships and international pests. So we're dealing with not only what we have here domestically, but then we have a bunch of other things that come in and they take root, and we just have to figure out how to adapt.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, today we would not just be talking about pest control, as the topic sounds, how AI, evolving pests, and smart strategies are shaping the future of pest management. I mean, like I said, we can't start the new year without looking back and talking about what are the latest advancements in the industry, what are the things that we are looking forward to, to do also in the industry. So I'm going to start first. First and foremost, you are the founder of the License to Kill community. I mean, I've been so curious, really, really curious. Why exactly do we have that name, License to Kill? But when you now talk about the name, right? How exactly do you even get the idea of adding gaming to? I mean, pest control is just in it. Pest control is really, really wild, right? A lot of us just sometimes just focus on one perspective, which is killing the pest, right? There's an aspect of killing the pest, there's an aspect of business of pest control. There's also the aspect of you brought in an extremely different aspect, which is using gaming and creating a community through gaming. How exactly do you just wake up with that idea and you just started something? I mean, tell us the story. What,
Yes,
how?
absolutely. So it's the perfect triple entendre, right? Because we are all licensed professionals, right? 007 kind of popularized the license to kill, so it's kind of already out there in the public ether. So it was kind of a play on of that, and our theming is secret agent, playing these video games where oftentimes you're killing bugs and killing space bugs like hell divers, and we wanted to bring gamification to the industry, right? A lot of Gen Z grew up on the gamification of many aspects of their education and training, and
Mhm.
it speaks to them. Of course, even millennials and Gen Xers. A lot of people are video gamers. It's by far the largest form of media now. Doubling the size of television and movies, cinema put together. So I think it's like a $66 billion industry, and it by far is the best medium of communication for storytelling, right? And historically, storytelling, whether it was Shakespearean stages, whether it's been Hollywood, whether it's been video games, now the next thing in that evolution. Uh, that leveling up of storytelling is always seen as utmost important, right? And so we know it's a shared space. We know that it's um, an area where the zeitgeist is moving. So many of these A-list celebrities are now, having their likeness scanned into the video games, so that way, they have celebrities now in video games, and so things are only moving in that direction, and it's very clear that um, the current trade industry associations were struggling to connect with the youth. You hear about high turnover rate, and quite frankly, we're doing the job, an old fashioned way. It's still a very old fashioned trade in many ways, as
Mhm.
much as
Mhm.
they've adopted technologies like routing systems and CRMs and stuff. Uh, you know, um, Getting out and checking individual boxes, hundreds of boxes a day, or in checking hundreds if not thousands of snap traps within a day or a week.
Mhm.
This is still very manual type of labor, and so it just it I don't know if you've heard, there's a podcast called Pest Control Unlocked with Constantine Schwartz, and he talks about the technician of 2030, and the integration of all the different sensors and softwares, and how AI is going to manage this data a lot more effectively. And I know people have talked about it for the last decade. I've been in the industry for a decade. You mentioned that, and
Yeah.
electronic rodent monitoring has never really taken off to the degree that people had, I think, anticipated it would. But
Yeah.
I don't think that it's not because it's not fruitless. It's just because it's in its current form, it was really just more work, right? And it added to the inefficiencies. And I
Hmm.
think, as these softwares develop communication with the traps and then derive meaningful interpretations of what this data and what this information is saying, you'll have a technician that'll show up on site, and before they've even gotten out of their truck, they know immediately, traps 3, 15, and 47 all have activity in them. You know exactly where to go to. And you can start to use the things on hand, like these smart facilities, especially where there's like automated forklifts or automated robotics moving around. These places are already embedded with QR codes everywhere. They already have every inch of these facilities are blueprinted and integrated with digitization of that. And so there's
Yeah.
no reason why the technician of 2030 wouldn't be able to use something like, a next generation version of meta
Yeah.
video game
Like a meta
goggles,
VR.
right? Yeah, and have an augmented reality overlay to be able to
Hmm.
see where those utility lines, where those pipes, water lines and stuff may run. I know that might sound far fetched, but when you're talking to a generation who grew up on gaming and you phrase it as,
Yeah.
go eliminate the infestation, your mission is to find, the entry point, that kind of thing. You change the verbiage. It is fun. It is,
Exactly.
something that we do get to. It can change and it can make your time way more efficient, right? And then you're
Exactly.
competing, you're doing the scoreboard thing. So it sounds maybe a little futuristic for some people who are just out there checking, Victor snap traps, and they're going, they're
Exactly.
sending multiple technicians to check all these different snap traps and these addicts, 90% of which are not going to be triggered off, right? Or 70%, whatever. There's a lot of times that you have rodent programs that are in place for maintenance purposes, and you have someone going by and checking every single trap, and that's fine. And a lot of softwares and a lot of protocols are, still want to see that. A lot of the technology, like the Bluetooth versions of the equipment, still kind of require the technician to be right there in proximity to that trap. So it's still kind of the same thing. But um, I do think that, as companies start to adopt these tools, smaller operators will be able to punch above their weight class, in a
Exactly.
way that bigger companies won't have the advantage. In the past, that scalability to just, swarm the field with labor, was beneficial. And I think the ones who are able to use the technologies to increase their efficiencies and save more time and be more productive will get more work done. They'll earn more commission. They'll be higher paid than their counterparts. And so these smaller companies are going to be, more efficient. They're going to have a higher profit margin, and they're going to attract the best employees because they're going to have some of the best wages, right? So these are all benefits that, some of the bigger companies that don't want to adopt the coming changes are going to be, they're going to be faced with. And this is everything from the sales side of the aisle, with
Exactly.
softwares like Apollo AI, right? Where, I mean, effectively, you're able to get direct contact with facility personnel,
Hmm.
based on the exact targeting of the types of facilities that you want. That kind of a tool can replace a team of salespeople, and be able to
Exactly.
make significantly better connection. So, you think about things like that. It's apples and oranges. I mean, uh,
Sorry, you just said something now. Do you say that there's a software or there's a tool that can currently, replace the sales, right? And helping, you called it uh
Apollo AI.
Apollo AI,
Yes.
right? Can you tell me like the function of that particular software tool?
Yeah, it's a fantastic tool for building out your commercial division, right? So a lot of companies, they're able to get traction in the residential world, but when it comes to the commercial world, it's hard to make contact because you have a lot of, you know, uh, purposeful gatekeeping, right? You have the secretary that sits at the front desk that, so you can't go in and just solicit, in the way that,
Yeah.
they just, you can't just walk through the front door and say, hey, can I, interest you in my business or my service? And this tool kind of gets past that. You pay it, it is like, it's like eye in the sky, big brothers type stuff, right? Where you can,
Hmm.
collect the information of specific operators in specific fields or industries. So, like, say you want to target pharmaceutical manufacturing or pharmaceutical compounding, right? Like you can choose a map area and then put in the industry, and it'll go through and find all the people that work in that industry and all the locations where that industry is being performed, as far as like job
Hmm.
locations, job sites. And you can even pull up specific job titles and stuff like that. You can filter through specific job titles like vice president, president, CEO, branch
Amazing.
manager, operations manager, plant manager, stuff like that, in a way that you just, you would never be able to get access to those people. And that doesn't mean it's a replacement for in-person contact. I think the idea is you still should go to the
Reduces time.
associations.
True.
Yeah, it saves you
It
time.
saves
And
you
it
time.
lets you know who you need to be talking to, right? Like you can go
Exactly.
to these like trade associations in a room full of thousands of people,
Hmm. Hmm.
and or at least several hundred. And so, this gives you a chance to maybe make, pre-contact with them, strike up an organic conversation, and do the same thing. So um, I think it's a great way for you to be intentional about your communication,
Hmm.
intentional about
Hmm.
your networking,
Hmm.
and intentional about the type of work that you want to go after, and as far as like what kind of company you want to position yourself as. So if you want to position yourself as a company that goes after audited accounts and goes after, work that maybe other operators are afraid to go after, then this is a good tool. And it's just one of many. I mean, it's just one of literally many tools. There's a ton of software that's out there right now. There's, like I said, and it touches every part of the industry, whether it's distribution,
Hmm.
whether it's employee management, whether it's routing. I mean, some of the best tools on the market are
I think
starting to integrate
I think
smart functionality.
I think one of the major challenge with professionals, in trying to use AI tools is the fact that we are all just we know about AI, right? But choosing the right AI depends on where you are in your company, right? So what I mean by that is, so for instance, you might be very, very good with operations personally, and you feel like, oh, I need some extra support in maybe finance, right? You can integrate an AI tool, just understand where exactly to fit your AI tools or your software gadgets into, or the automation where you want it to be, right? So, I mean, a lot of people will be confused right now in terms of, there are a lot of AI tools, there are a lot of softwares. A lot of people are just
Yes.
so much used with ChatGPT alone, but there's so
Yes.
many tools, there's so many AI tools, there's so many softwares that can do so many things. Either the FSM apps, the CRM, like the Apollo AI you talked about for commercialization of the pest control business and all. So just choose a part. I mean, some people might be very confused right now, but you know about some of these tools, and you kind of like answered some about three of my good questions. You already answered them already in terms of how AI. I think that's where we wanted to start with from, and you've answered so many of the questions. How small companies are going to adopt these things, and how big companies can also be challenged with AI tools and stuff like that, right? So now, in terms of these software tools, and maybe just three or four sections or fields of the pest control industry, I mean, just select some of those tools that you think will be much more beneficial. I mean, for Pest Experience Show, I really do not like gatekeeping, all right? And that's exactly one of the advantage of license to kill community also, right? Majorly share these things with the people, let them use it, And I mean, also majorly share things is best experience. So what you have actually tried and it has worked for you, and what I've actually tried and it has worked for me are things that I recommend to the professionals on the Pest Experience Show. So if you can list about just, maybe just two or three from different sectors of the pest control industry, to be so nice for our communities to also learn from that too. And they can also do their
Absolutely.
personal research. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think if you want a good audit software, then you should look at Pest. Right, this is some of probably the best software that's on the market right now. It's actually coming out of Central and Latin America, so they're not even really in America or North America yet. We got a couple of companies and friends of mine that I know that are starting to adopt it, but this is some of the best software out there when it comes to device tracking, reporting, and making the reporting something that is understandable to the people you're going to be presenting it to, which is going to be your branch
Hmm.
operators or plant operators or whatever. It is phenomenal. I think it gives you like a 40-page report, and each page is something different, right? So instead of drowning them in data, you're giving them very specific data that you can use as a technician to do storytelling, right? Which is really good for when you're trying to call to action something out of these companies. Maybe it's repairing their roll up doors, or adding some kind of exclusion, or changing their protocols some kind of way. When you can prove at 2 a.m. every single Tuesday morning that there's a spike in rodent activity on this northwest wall, and you're able to pinpoint, oh, that's because y'all pick up trash. Exactly, that's when the garbage truck guy gets here, and the garbage can is 50 to 70 meters out from the building, and that's why you have a recurring issue here. Maybe you move the location of the trash receptacle, or you address the problem in other ways. But the point being is, this makes you more tactical. This makes you more diagnosable. And so I think, if you're looking for audit software, check out Pest. If you're looking for, sales software, you're going to want to look at like Smarter Launch and Apollo AI, right? These are, I talked a little bit about Apollo AI, and Smarter Launch creates proposals that look phenomenal. They package in all of the content that you would want with a proposal that would address, like, any kind of pushback or rejections. It comes with like a video of your company, your logos and the banners. I mean, all kinds of stuff, all your contact information. It's very easy, clickable. I know that sounds small, but a good looking proposal, especially if you are a small company, that could help to really, again, help you punch above your weight class, where there may be a bigger company, but their proposals look sterile, right? Or maybe they just don't look, as convincing. So, on the sales side, I would say those two tools are super powerful. On the distribution side, you want to take a look at things like Forshaw. I think they're doing like an AI smart inventorying and distribution management and order processing. So like really minimize wasteful ordering of your products. And then, when you talk about CRMs, I mean, there's a literal company called Pest AI. And Tony and Ben are awesome, awesome, awesome guys. They are the best. I mean, you can talk to them. They have, back end development. Ben is the guy. I mean, he's the computer whiz, and Tony is the socialite, and they're incredible. And
Mhm.
that software allows you to essentially monitor all of your social medias, automate all of your social media campaigns. Same thing with your phone calls, all inbound phone calls, and its closing rate is insanely high. Significantly higher than a freshly trained CRM, and way cheaper. You're talking about like $500 a month, which may be a little on the pricier end of a software, but I mean,
Mhm.
when you're talking about a 40 to $60,000 a year, employee,
Mhm.
to receive phone calls, this is powerful stuff. This is the kind of things that you put these tools together, and you can have a branch with, maybe 5 workers, competing at the same level of, 10, 15, 20 workers, right? So, um, I would say that.
Amazing.
And then on the routing side, check out Gorilla Desk, man. Again, these guys are in the community, they're accessible, they're connectable. But they and which is such a phenomenal thing. They have a back and forth dialogue with their community, with the pest controllers, want to see in their CRMs what kind of routing parameters and stuff that actually matter, that help. And they're affordable. They've never gone up on price. It's been like $50 since it ever came out, which is such a huge shout out to Chad and Chris for that. Like, again, just really, seeding good small industry and helping operators to get off their feet. And it's some of the, I mean, again, it's some of the best software out there. They've included
Yeah.
reporting, they've included payment processing. I mean, they do website management. I mean, it's comprehensive, right? And so those would be, I would say that's kind of something that touches each section of operating a business. And if you're using these softwares in conjunction with one another, you're operating in 2026, after 2025 was moving at the speed of AI. I think, it has arrived, it's here, and the ones that are working work, and the ones that are going to fall off the cliff are starting to experience that.
True, true, true. I mean, that's a very good one. Gorilla Decks. I know about Gorilla Decks. I've heard about Gorilla Decks. I've checked their software. But the African market, the pricing is way, way, way different from how we do it here. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's something that we could look at with Chris. I never knew Chris was part of Gorilla Desk, right? And that's a great one. So now you made mention of something that there's a difference between when get a software of about $500 with the one of 4,600 per month for salary payment, which you're actually very right. So my next question now would be that what exactly are the limitations or the risk that comes with over reliance with technology in pest management, in as much as this is really good, but when we rely so
Oh,
much on
yeah.
it, are there limitations to it?
Of course. Well, I mean, shoot, I should be the one speaking about that firsthand. I was a part of the big Verizon outage just a couple days ago. I didn't have access to my phone for 2 days. And so imagine you're running
Yeah.
your entire setup on a cellular
Hmm.
system, right? That could cause a problem. I mean, we're in
Hmm.
volatile times, we're in turbulent times as far as the world stage goes. There's wars all over the place. People have adversaries in all different kinds of countries, and so cyber attacks are a regular thing as a part of infrastructure attacks. And so I don't know if that's exactly what the Verizon thing was, but I'm just saying that it could be on around any corner, right? And so yeah, over reliance
Exactly.
on wireless communication could easily be problematic. And then also like a lot of these smart devices are cool, and it sounds great on paper, but it has to be done correctly. It has to be set up correctly. Otherwise, you're chewing through batteries, right? Batteries are very expensive, time
Hmm.
consuming, and you could go find yourself very quickly, not being a pest control operator anymore. And suddenly you're just a battery
Mm.
technician, just swapping batteries and stuff all day. And so, over reliance on some of this stuff, and then also don't overcomplicate some things, right? I mean, the technology should assist, it should help, but also like if you as a pest control guy can't look and see where some rub marks are at or where the burrow holes are at, you need AI goggles to do that job, then maybe maybe it's I mean, just to kind of poke a little fun at my own comments from earlier, as much as this stuff I do think has a future in the industry, and I do think it will change things. I think you're correct, being over reliant on it, or not seeing past the kind of the foundational skills and the fundamental skills.
Hmm.
There's some things that time and wisdom alone will teach you, right? That the
Exactly.
human being is a pattern recognition machine. And so you spend enough time doing anything, and you'll notice the seasons, and these animals show up, and then these insects show up, and then these, and you see the domino and the chain of events, and you kind of start to see how everything is tethered together. You don't need an AI system to tell you that. What you need is time, and experience and wisdom. So all of
Uh,
these things, yeah, all these things are true at the same time. Technology can be helpful, but it's not the end all be all.
Exactly. So, experience is the most critical aspect. And I feel like that's the one most key thing that most professionals should actually hold on to. In as much as you are going to be working in the industry, you need to, or depending on technology, you also need to work on building your own knowledge capital, right? It really helps a lot. When you build up your knowledge capital, it builds up your own capacity to learn or learn and relearn yourself. So, from your own perspective, what exactly are the biggest changes currently reshaping the pest control industry globally?
Communities, hands down, masterminds, communities, connectivity. Uh, I came from a very analog style company. When I first started working at the company I worked for, they were paper routes. You showed up every single day, you got your paper route. Um, aside from maybe, phone calling one or two technicians that you may be friends with, for the most part, you listen to the radio all day, or you listen to music on your wired headphones, right? I think
Yeah,
podcasts were just kind of starting to come out, but the podcasts were you had to go to individual URL websites, right? So like the black tapes and stuff,
yeah.
they weren't on Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube or any of this stuff, right? None of that stuff
Mhm.
existed at the time, and so what I'm saying is it was very easy to operate for 5-10 years in your own little small micro bubble, and
Mhm.
the only socializing that you did was these brief interactions with your customers throughout the day, which may have been friendly and enjoyable, but not educational, right? Like not really
Mm.
going to help you level up, right? And now you see, through the internet, all these communities, whether it's the Pest Experience, whether it's License to Kill, whether it's the Humor Depot, or the podcasts like Beauties and Beasties, you have people from all over sharing their experience, sharing information, talking about tools that maybe you never heard of before. And then when you have places like License to Kill, where we have the field shenanigans, where it is in real time, like a big party call, like a big group chat, and
Yeah,
you can be talking to someone and learning something almost immediately about the type of work that you're trying to accomplish. You can turn on your camera and you show the guys like, hey man, like, I just don't know where it's getting in. I'm having this issue, something. And someone's like, oh, have you tried this product? And you're just like, oh, I didn't even know that existed. And it's like, yeah, there's this cool
exactly.
exclusion product I saw at a show, or a conference. You know what I mean? And uh, again, most technicians, they're not sent to the conferences. They're not sent to the big meetups and the industry stuff. They're, branch managers, maybe owners will do that kind of stuff. But the everyday
Yeah,
technician is too busy running a route to really get that firsthand exposure. So, long and short, the communities provide exposure, and exposure allows you to expand your knowledge. And that's what helps you level up. It's not that the stuff's not out there, it's just that you haven't heard of it yet. Such a big
exactly.
world. I mean, look at all the stuff that you're doing. I've learned so much from you, and it comes all the way down to even just the language that people use, the language that surrounds pest control, and how that shapes and crafts the customer's expectations, right? The idea of between a pest control guy and an exterminator, right? These are very chosen, selective language and verbiage for a reason, right? Because it
Hmm.
shapes the way the customer expects. Exterminator kind of makes you think like we're just going to go out there and kill every bug, everything
Everything.
that crawls, all the stuff, and pest control
Yeah,
is kind of like, well, hold on, no, we're not actually, out there destroying the environment. We really just want to keep the wrong things from being in the wrong areas, you know what I mean? And keep them in the
exactly.
correct areas. And that's a totally different expectation. So, and I think we've talked about, how people will use the word medicine, right?
Mhm.
Whereas in a lot of Western countries, you see like chemical, right? Or, and just even how that has a negative connotation. People in the West really are about, very green applications and green products, and inspection first and minimize the use of it because it's seen as a hazard, as a danger to interact with. And then in other countries like Central Latin America, some countries you were talking about in Africa, where they use the
Yeah.
word medicine, medicine, and kind of implies curative, right? Which implies like something you would want to interact with, right? And so that might make, people a little bit more, um, less restrict on the areas that you would want them, where they want you to spray, or maybe that
Yeah.
kind of implies they want you to overspray because again, it's like more medicine, the better, right? And so,
Exactly.
this kind of exposure is why it's all changing, I mean,
Amazing.
yeah, absolutely.
So speaking about over reliance and also um so much application of products, like you said in your word, the clients classify them as medicine, whereas they are meant to be pesticides, right? So
Right.
how exactly? But this over application has over time costing resistance in some major pests that we have. In I
Yes.
don't know. I mean, it's actually everywhere. So we have so many pests out there that has gained resistance to pesticides due to over application of or of this product or increase in concentration of this product, right? So
Yes.
how exactly are pests adapting to number one, the commonly used chemicals that we used, and resistance and behavioral changes that are becoming bigger challenge than most operators has ever realized. So how exactly are pests adapting to the commonly used chemicals that we have? Changing in their behavioral patterns and all.
Well, I think bed bugs, right, are kind of the star of the show when people talk about bugs that have become chemical resistant, how that's affected.
Exactly.
We didn't have bed bugs really as an epidemic, even just in recent history, in the early 2000s, the 90s, it really wasn't a thing. Old products from the 50s like DDT had wiped it out, and those products were not good. They were harmful and dangerous in the ways that, I mean, I say they're not, they were effective, they were very good at what
Mhm.
they did. But the point I'm making is now, you see a permethrin resistance starting to build in, these bed bugs. And so you're starting to see the transportation and the spread of them, particularly in areas where you have a lot of, um, like cruises or hotels or tourism or, anything where you're getting a lot of people circulating in and out of an area. We're starting to see that spread pretty rapidly. And so, but I think a better way to look at it is not how are the bugs changing, because the bugs are always changing. It's how is the
Mm.
industry changing to address
Yeah,
this problem. And I'd
exactly.
like to lay my finger on a product called Apprehend. I did an episode with them recently, the people from Rockwell Labs. There's a doctor,
I
Dr.
hope
Nina
I
Jenkins.
hope I hope you're the one that is sponsoring their adverts on the PestXperience Show.
Well, I like to listen. I don't shill for any one particular person. I don't,
Mhm.
I really don't. It's not. It is supposed to be knowledge sharing. I think a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
people in all the different parts of the spaces are working on awesome tools, and if they're doing something good, then they should get their roses. Nisus is actually
exactly.
someone who's a major supporter of me. Obviously, love
I
them.
was I
They've been
was I was going to
behind,
talk about I was going to talk about them also.
and these
I'm
companies are
inspiring
rivals,
other.
right? Nisus, Rockwell, these guys are,
Yeah.
they're kind of rivals, but still the technology behind Apprehend using the live fungal spores, right
Mhm.
now you're taking the pesticide resistance or permethrin resistance portion out of the equation, right? And this is,
Mm.
another tool in the tool bag that, operators should be aware that exists, and that other manufacturers, most likely down the line will also start to create, biopesticides and,
Yeah.
bioengineered fungal spores and stuff. And so, this is, the better part of, not how does the bug change its behavior, but how does the industry change its
Mhm.
behavior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it should be like in your words, and that's a very good perspective for the question, which is how exactly are professionals and even manufacturers changing? Because they've gained resistance to pyrethroids. What next is the next product that we're going to be using? Or are we also using other tools or technology in solving the pest problem? I feel like that's one of the major solution to solving this pest problem. So can you share like a real world, example where traditional treatment failed due to maybe sometimes over application or behavioral changes of this pest?
Man, okay. So a specific time in which I'll tell you this. There was a time I had a rodent infestation at a set of apartment complexes that were so bad. Traditional rodenticide alone was just not going to solve the issue. There was
Mm,
a famous park, amusement park that had been demolished in our area, and they sent all the parking lot and the facilities to this concrete recycling facility, and it created a like 6-story tall concrete just rubble mound in the middle of a major metropolitan area, and it's been there for over a decade to almost 2 decades or whatever, and grass has grown up on it. There's tunnels everywhere, and you're talking about pest pressures from a colony that's massively large. And we did trapping, we did the rodenticide, and for a very long period of time. And we're talking several different types, rotating the bait, loading it up appropriately for the amount of activity we're seeing, 3 times a week trapping, trapping with pre-baiting,
mm.
I mean, removing literally hundreds of rats throughout the
Wow.
month, and just couldn't get it under control for like 18 months, right? And finally we were like, this is not working, we need to do something different. And we
Yeah.
thought about fertility control, right? New product out on the
Mm,
market, came out a few years ago, called ContraPest. Works on males and females, has like a 99% efficacy rate on sterility, because if they can outbreed you faster than you can catch them, you're always going to be on the losing side of this issue, right?
mm.
And a lot of people will, critique that a fertility control system is not going to be fast enough for making the customer, in a residential setting. If you've got rats in the attic, they don't want to wait several weeks to a couple of months.
Exactly.
They want a dead rat in
Exactly.
their attic. But in this situation, we had a persistent
Mm,
population source. We had a persistent conducive condition. It was not within our customers' ability to do anything about it because it was adjacent to this property. So, and the rock pile's not going anywhere, the grass seed's not going anywhere, the insects aren't going anywhere. So we introduced fertility control, and within just a couple of months, absolutely crashed the population, fixed their problem. Made some changes on what their protocol for trash receptacle, and by changing the approach. And it's not that traditional stuff doesn't work. It's just the rodenticide, maybe they had begun resistant to it. It's hard to tell. It clearly wasn't having an effect on the amount of activity that was getting in the structure. They were
mm.
getting all over the place. We got traps in the attic, trash rooms, and
You see,
the
one
point
of
being is thinking outside the box, and using a
yeah.
product that was new to the market, testing it out in the appropriate setting. We got something that was significantly better and helpful when we were experiencing a resistance both to trapping and rodenticide.
Amazing. You see, when before we started the show, I talked about you asked the question, why exactly did I start the Pest Experience Show and the changes that it has happened to me? And I was telling you that I mean most of the guests that I have on the show are actually international guests. And one of the
Yep.
major reason is because it helps bridge that gap between the international knowledge and what we are doing here in Nigeria or in Africa generally. And, we are used to just apply these rodenticides there and the exclusion practice, setting up all the entry point and the exit point. I would say my own experience. I mean, there's a commercial facility we're working with right now, and it's badly really infested with rodents. When we came in, it was really way more than that. Now the complaints and the damage level in that commercial facility literally dropped so much. But now, we didn't do the treatment for like 2 months. We just started again in January this year. I mean, I was there about 2 days ago, I was at that facility and discovered that the rodent population has increased. But before we left 2 months ago, they sealed up all the entry points that we identified to them. They sealed up everything, right? But why exactly are the rodents there again? Is it that the exclusion practice did not work? But it did work. But now they've created new holes. They've created new tunnels. They've created, in fact,
Right.
now they're actually passing through the roof into some other offices, down into the kitchen, down into the store. I mean, I saw them, I witnessed them myself. So I saw that they've created new holes. They're going into the septic tank and all. So, I mean, what you just suggested now, fertility control.
Yes.
That's
Fertility
that's an
control.
that's another perspective entirely. And it's something that I would really, really want to actually try in that facility, right? So you mentioned a particular product, Pest,
Yep.
right? The only
They
challenge we
also
have.
have a second so ContraPest is a liquid drink, and they also have another
Okay.
product called Evolve, which are these like little meat sausages that are a type of
Oh,
physical bait you can put in your bait stations as well. I think it
amazing.
uses cottonseed oil. It's like, you know, you
Amazing.
wouldn't believe it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, but the problem now is that, most of this product, I think we talked about this every time I enter the field shenanigans, I'm always, you know, I mean, the field shenanigans is there for ranting. So we just go there, talk about our entire day. And that's one thing I actually love about, the LTK field shenanigans. You talk about your day, talk about the challenges that you're facing. And every time I go there, I'm always talking about the fact that one of the problem we have in Nigeria is the fact that most of those products that actually can do the work are not available in the country. Is either
Yes.
I think Charles was talking about it just yesterday, where we're talking about it on the Discord channel,
Yes.
bringing nice source products into Nigeria, but registration of those products is another major challenge. Is either we don't know how long it will take to register the product, or the registration procedure, or the investments required to get the product out there. I mean, there's a framework we're working on to speed up these things. Hopefully, it gets approved by the US EPA, the EU, and also NAFDAC itself. So, I mean, this is an
Right.
opportunity for the authority bodies and even manufacturers who are also going to be watching us. I mean, there's hope for us in there's hope for manufacturers to register the product in Nigeria and expand, because there is a mass market here. It's just, seeing it and trusting a representative to help you put this thing out there to other people. I mean, just the products you mentioned now could actually even solve, because if they are not producing, if they are not fertile enough, the population will reduce.
Yes.
The
And
population will
it makes
reduce.
your traditional it's like a synergist, right? It makes your traditional
Exactly.
stuff work that much better because then the traps you have can focus on the remaining diminished population, and then you get actual population collapse. You
Exactly.
get total control.
It's just basically like an IGR.
Yes,
So
it's exactly like an IGR.
it's just like an IGR. So if you can break up the cycle, I feel like that's even where we should be focusing on, even in
Yes.
manufacturing, focusing in the growth cycle, because if they don't grow anymore, you actually not see them anymore. So it's another perspective. I mean, I know with this there is still more. So what exactly else? I mean, I feel like we should, delve into the experience aspect and see these things. These are things that professionals need to look forward to in 2026. Changing, thinking out of the box, changing the perspective of how you carry out your pest management process. Now, for me now, rodent control now is beyond exclusion practice. Initially,
Right.
I usually talk about the fact that it's just exclusion and rodenticide application, but now it's fatality
You're talking
control.
fertility control, and this
Exactly.
is something that helps with your adjacent facilities, right? Because a lot of times your customers boundary of their property is not the extent of where their problem is coming from, right? So this helps
Mm.
you control things that are off property as well, in the sense that these infertile rats are going to mate with other rats, right, that are in the area, and it's going to have an effect, right, on the entire. So it is one of those situations where the more you can get people to do it, the better it is in the surrounding area. But also, you don't have to worry about chemical trespass. That's one of
Mhm.
the, like, very stringent laws. You got to be careful about any products that you place out on your customer's property not getting on their neighbor's property. Because unless they've approved for that product to be there, that's illegal. And so, something like fertility control, it affects it on the individual rat, that then goes out and tries to mate with other rodents, and those are ineffective
Mhm.
copulations. So this again continues to affect the broader wider reaching pest pressures, and tools like that are awesome. And I think tools
Amazing.
like the communities are awesome because the more interconnected we are, the stronger the relationship building is, the easier it'll be for these regulating bodies to communicate with one another, right? If we know each other
Exactly.
on a friendly basis, if we know each other, that we know the reason why people are requesting these things, and we know the conversations that have led to it, and that it's coming from a good intent, then it will filter its way up to the regulators. One of the nice things that's been awesome about the communities is that we've discovered how small the industry is, right? It's very easy to
Yeah,
become connected with very, high reaching authoritative figures in our industry, and the regulators and everything in between. They're not out of reach, and they're not pushing away conversation. They want to be talked to, they want to be engaged, they want their constituents to interact with them and know their perspectives, and they want to know the perspectives of their constituents. This two-way
exactly.
dialogue has never felt as accessible as it does now. And so with these kinds of communities, despite whatever's going on in geopolitics, the trade systems, the merchant ships, the commerce side of things is still going to have to continue to be maintained, and that's what pest control does. We keep people safe, we keep food systems and food distribution safe, we keep medical facilities safe and sterile. I mean, these are all a part of the work that we're doing, and each country should have access to the best tools that are being available on the market and knowledge sharing, so that way we're not acting as a vector of transfer from one country to another, right? These
Yeah,
rodents get on these ships, these bed bugs get in at these oil and gas facilities and stuff, and you can have these outbreaks and they take it back to their home countries, and you're just in there, you know what I'm saying? So the more that we can be
exactly.
unified on the technology that's out there, and the more effective the individual operator can become, and the better we can keep the safety for the general public. I mean, there's literally billions of people who rely on the sanitation and the food being there, right? I mean, we have to,
Exactly.
if we don't do our jobs, that food gets disposed of, contaminated or otherwise, and so or it can become an outbreak of some kind of virus, and so that's we need to be able to link arms in that way. The more that we're together, the more that these systems are robust and secure
Hmm.
internationally.
Exactly. Because, when we work together, we can actually grow together. And that's the advantage of having communities, being part of communities, being part of, podcasts like this, shows like the Pest Experience Show, the Beauties and Besties podcast, and so many other podcasts like that, coast to coast too, you
Coast to
know.
coast, Gabe and Andy,
Yeah.
love those
Give an
guys.
idea. Yeah. So I
Yes.
mean, everybody is creating that awareness, right? Everybody's trying to also create that awareness, that connection, that bridge. And one thing we're also doing with the Pest Insights Initiative is to create the awareness with the community itself. We can do what we're doing with the Pest Experience Show is create the awareness and that communication, that community with professionals, also with homeowners. But we're taking it also to the grassroots, to students, to young minds, to
Yes.
graduates, right?
Yes.
Because when one thing that we believe in is that when you build the young ones well, they understand the best control, they understand the biology of these things, and it's easier to cut the cycle. Imagine a child probably disposed their food wrongly, probably on the table and stuff like that. And they are correcting their parents. Oh, mom, this thing would cause cockroaches. These things can actually cause rodents to come into the house,
Yes.
those kind of things. So if we can do that, we are breaking the cycle, we are creating that educational system. And pest control for us is it goes beyond reactive measures, right? It's
Yes.
proactive. You have to be
Bro.
extremely proactive in solving the pest problem. It starts with still start small signs. So imagine a child just see or probably just saw the utica of German roach, and she already identified that, oh, this is the egg of a German roach. This then we already have an infestation. Mommy, you need to actually do this. Mommy, you don't need to keep up the dishes in the dishwasher for long. Those kind of things. It goes a
Right.
very long way. And,
Right.
the knowledge they have from young is what they carry to when they grow up and when they becomes to start building up their own family and all. So it's a generational thing that we need to actually keep up. But I mean, it's global now. The Pest Inside project is global. We're expanding the reach to other countries, and we're also first starting with the apprenticeship program, which is training the young minds, the fresh graduates,
Absolutely.
training them to creating more workforce in the industry. And definitely when those people graduate from the apprenticeship program, they're also going to be part of the license to kill community. Also, we're also building up
Love
that
it.
international collaborations. No, and that's that. I mean, that's the emphasis that you also are doing with the license to kill community.
Yes.
There was a time I saw one of my guy here in Nigeria posted the logo of license to kill. I was like, it's Marcus, you've gone global, man.
I've got global. How awesome.
you know, uh,
No, it makes me proud to see that other people get
mhm,
something good from it. That's what it's all about. I just want other people to I'm building value for everyone else, and
exactly.
watching everyone else succeed and watching everyone else get something from it is what brings me joy.
Exactly. And it's also, states this that, growth is not just, it happens to everybody, but you need to actually stay consistent. You can achieve
Yep.
it if you only can stay consistent with it. And that's something I'm really proud to be a member of the License to Kill. That consistency in the platform, that collaboration. I mean,
Man,
there was a time I never had the space on my phone, so I deleted the app. I had to download the app again on my other Android phone again. I was like, I'm not going to miss these communications. Every evening I'm always joining in and just, the time difference also. But I mean, I'm always checking in. Are the guys available already on the Discord? Let's just talk. Sometimes we don't talk about pest control alone. We talk about something else entirely.
just whatever.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe Greenland, what exactly is happening in the US. Just keep you updated
Right.
with what is going on. That's
Right.
the advantage of having communities. That's the advantage of joining, the Pest Experience community or, license to keep. And you can be on all of these communities. Definitely. It's
You
it
get you
helps you
get to
to
talk to real people and you get to see how they
exactly.
feel. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, there's so much to learn. There's so much to unlearn. There's so much to really learn. I'm going to ask this few questions before we wrap it up and make it, a day. I mean, I've learned so much. I mean, one of the major key things I've learned today, I'm going to actually practice it and go back to sites tomorrow is to find how we can do the fatality control to those rodents called, so what exactly are the mistakes that you see pest control businesses making that can actually cost them relevance in the future? There's some businesses that might not even see the next 1 year or the next 6 months. There's some mistakes that we make. You spent over 10 years. That's over a decade in the industry. Tomorrow is 19. Jesus, that's my seventh year anniversary. 19th of January is gonna make it
Congratulations.
7 years in in pest control business, right? I mean, you are 3 years older than me. So, what exactly are those mistakes that you think that, I mean, someone who is starting, someone who is climbing the ladder like myself in the industry, what are the mistakes that you think we should avoid to be able to stay well and
I
stay grounded in
think
the pest control industry?
I think uh honestly, the handful of mistakes have to do with business culture. I think it has
Mm,
everything to do with business culture. The companies that appreciate their employees, it shows, and the ones that
mm,
don't, they drive down the wages and they make pest control wages below the median wage nationally and really make it an unliving wage. It doesn't matter how cool or how interesting the job is or how effective it is, how important it is. If the people who are boots on the ground, who are out there in the heat, who are out there, with the respirators on and doing all that stuff, if they don't feel valued, if they don't feel like it's worth their time, they'll go spend their time doing other things.
mm,
So, corporate type entities, I think are probably some of the ones that are the worst to blame for that. I think if you work at a mom and pop shop, you're probably a little bit luckier. But I've heard horror stories of all sizes. I've heard horror stories of all sizes. So, small,
mm,
medium, large, it doesn't matter. And I've heard great stories about some of the biggest operators out there who really treat their guys good. And I'm talking everything from respect to education to teaching them and giving them the space and breathing room to be adults living in the real world, right? And so all of those things count at the same time. I think that's a huge thing. And then what other major mistakes I see. I think consolidation has made
Mm,
the industry ripe for new operators. If you have any ambition to you right now, then grab yourself by the bootstraps and do something about it, because all the tools, all the AI stuff, it's all there. It's never been a better time to do it. It's the wild, wild west. The culture of pest control is changing and how it's done. You can be a part of changing that. You don't have to sit with the old tides, the old way of things, and all this consolidation means that these bigger companies are operating with very huge debts they have to service, which
mm,
means they're raising prices and they're crunching down on payroll and expenditures and everything else. So, be aware that that's what's happening. That's what the market's like right now. That's not the end all be all. I think private equity has its spot in the industry, just like the small solo operator. But you should be aware now of what 2025 has done to the industry and what that means for you in your attempts to climb the ladder in 2026. Do you want to be higher ranking in a corporate position and, have the security of a larger organization? Then find the certifications, use the credentials, achieve your ACE, use the study groups and the networks, do those things. If you're interested in becoming a business owner, network with other business owners, find out what tools are working, what forms of marketing you need to stay away from, and,
mm,
learn how to be a lean, mean fighting machine, right? Because you're surrounded by a bunch of lumbering giants right now that are going to be slow to move, have a lot of debt they have to service, and
mm.
if you're nimble enough, this might just be the perfect time for you.
Amazing, amazing. I was going to ask you to advise us at the end of this, but you literally just said it all, right? And that's a very, very good one. That's a lot. Thank you very much. I've learned so much from today's podcast, and I'm sure that our guests, our listeners also are also learning, or they've learned so much from this particular, even just from your last speech. That's amazing. That's a very good one. I mean, it's just so nice to learn such an amazing one from you. Your recommendations are extremely valid and quite important for professionals. Understand your why. Why exactly are you doing it? What exactly do you want to do? Be sincere and be truthful to yourself. Who are you, Gangan? You understand? Yoruba will say, "Who are you, Gangan?" Right?
Yes,
Who
yes.
exactly are you? Who do you want to become? Right? What are you becoming in the next 3 years, in the next 4 years? For myself, it's a question of myself. Like, what exactly are you becoming in the next 3 years? Next 3 years, I'll be your today. Can you imagine? So that's how life is, right? So it's understanding what exactly you want to become, and putting up really fast, putting yourself in positioning yourself in the right places, in the right spaces to develop much more better. So that's a beautiful one. That's an amazing educative insight from you. I don't know if you have any other few things that you want to drop before we, wrap it up today. We've been trying to have this podcast for a very long time, and I'm glad, super excited that we are able to do this today.
Me too.
And also, you're actually my first guest for the year 2026, right? Which
Yeah.
is a record-breaking one.
I'll do the
So
honors. Thank you. Thank you.
all right, so that's a very good one. All right. So I don't know if you have anything, what probably the future of pest management, what really excites you for future of pest management, or you want to, drop some few recommendations for us before we make it a day tonight.
Yeah, man. Join the group, join License to Kill, find me on social media, Marcus
Mm-hmm.
Scruggs, find me on LinkedIn, get connected. I can help you get connected with other people. That's what it's all about. What I'm looking forward to most to 2026 is seeing which tools fall to the wayside, who opens up their ears and listens to good advice, and which ones choose to think that it's just a fad. Maybe it all
Mm-hmm.
is. I think people are going to be putting their stakes in the ground this year. It's the defining, are you with the trend? Are you against the trend? And
True.
so I look forward to seeing, who falls flat on their face and who's able to get back up and keep running. So, everything's it's a 50-50 chance right now. But I think if you're going into it with intentionality, then you'll be successful.
Mm. True, true. That's a very good one. Intentionality, you need to, if you go with it with intentionality, you will be successful. And that's a very good one to end today's show. All right. So thank you very much, everyone, um joining joining the show tonight. For those who are going to be watching this program immediately after the live session, or those who are going to be watching after, thank you very much for joining. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time here. If you have any question, drop them in the comment section and I'll definitely respond to them. I also have Marcos respond to them one after the other. So have questions, you want to follow us on Inside Radio, the Pest Experience Show. Follow me personally, Shofu Babalola, on all social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, even though I'm not really so much on Facebook. But I mean, you can catch me up on LinkedIn. I respond really, really quick. Instagram, also on Twitter also. And you also, if you're interested in partnering with Pest Experience Show, or you want to advertise your program or your show or your product right on the show, you can hit up the numbers showing right on your screen, or you can send us a mail at info@insideradio.net. All right. Thank you very much. My name is Ramesh Obarati. I'll see you in the next one. Same time, every Sunday, 7 to 8 p.m. West African time. Well, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Bye for
Thanks,
now.
Shofu. That was awesome. High five.